Bring Me the Horizon released Parasite Eve right before coronavirus hit.
Is it a coincidence that Hideo Kojima released a game about nobody going outside and basically the only people doing anything are like package deliverers right before the coronavirus, and we were all stuck inside and the only people doing anything were like important people?
Did Hideo Kojima work with Bring Me the Horizon to create coronavirus to market their own products?
To add to it, to add to it, Bring Me the Horizon made a song for the Death Stranding soundtrack.
Did they really?
Yeah, it's called Ludens. I love it.
That is
My favorite song on the soundtrack.
like at first I was joking, but now it's getting a little weird.
It's all coming together. It's like a really, really weird puzzle.
A really weird parasite puzzle. All right. Well, we're recording, Elijah.
Oh, hey, look at that. We are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to FrameSkip. This is episode 99, not 100, as I formerly had thought. And it's just mono tonight. It's me, your host, Seths Likehouse, along with Elijah, the man of steel. Elijah, how you been tonight?
I'm doing all right. I got a bit of a headache, but doing good. Doing good.
Have you drank water? When's the last time you drank water?
About 20 minutes ago.
I gotta treat you like my girlfriend who doesn't
No.
drink water.
No, I think I drank probably about 80 ounces today.
Caitlin's over here. She's like, I'm so tired. I feel awful. My head hurts. And then she's like, I'll have a large mocha coffee and nothing else for the rest of the day.
I mean, I can't really say anything. I start the day off with a mocha frappuccino. So, like,
you start your day off with a mocha frappuccino every day? That's just your
not
go-to?
Every day, just kind of like every 2 or 3.
I can't take the Starbucks like name seriously after watching Zoolander for the first time. You remember that scene? What did they call it? Like,
oh god, what was it?
Caramel mocha frappuccinos, and they spray the head of the gasoline fight.
Look, do you want to hear the name of my favorite thing to get at Starbucks?
Yeah,
the mocha cookie crumble frappuccino.
The mocha cookie. That's exactly what it sounds like. Like all I can hear is those guys saying that over and over, spraying gasoline at each other and having a gasoline fight.
Yeah. Oh god, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Wow. Zoolander's legendary, and you know the second one came and went like a fart in the wind.
Yeah, I never saw the second one.
My favorite scene from the second one, and unironically maybe the best scene from the second one, is Will Ferrell walking out of prison, yacked to the gills, but as he's walking out of prison, he takes the suit off that's making him look like shredded, and it's just like his normal body inside the suit.
All right, I don't like Will Ferrell, but that's pretty great.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the gigantic like version of him looks so real, and then he just takes off his suit, and it's just normal Will Ferrell. But I think whatever that character is that he plays in Zoolander might be my favorite Will Ferrell character, because it's not like any of his other characters, and it's a really funny character.
I think the only 2 roles I like Will Ferrell in are the Lego Movie and Blades of Glory. Blades of Glory.
Glory is a good one. I like Blades of Glory. We just watched that the other day.
I love that movie so much.
Me and Caitlin just got back from Disney World, Elijah.
Ooh, how was that?
It was really cool. We're obviously, me and her are huge Star Wars fans, and we go there and have a blast at Galaxy's Edge. I bought 2 new lightsabers. I bought Darth Vader's lightsaber, and well, really, Caitlin got the other one. She got Asajj Ventress's lightsaber from the Clone Wars.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, we had a blast down there. What's really cool is that, you know, Disney resorts are like staying on Disney's property is actually the most expensive part of Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually do a Disney trip fairly cheap if you go to like the cheapest resort. A lot of times people don't want to do that because, like,
hey, I'm already splurging. Might as well.
Yeah, well, like the thing is, like a lot of people don't like they're called the All-Star resorts because what ends up happening is like you get
Smash Mouth plays every night as you're trying to go to sleep.
yeah, yeah. At just 11:30 p.m. just blast through all those speakers. No, what ends up happening is like I don't know if you remember, there's like bands that go down to Disney every year and like cheerleading competitions and dancing
Oh
competitions.
yeah.
Yeah, so like because they're the cheapest resorts, a lot of times those get booked up with like really annoying like teeny boppers and stuff like that, just hordes of them. It's never bothered me because usually when I go to Disney World, we stay in the resorts minimal amount of time anyway. We're always in the parks.
Yeah.
So I had the cheapest resort booked, the All Star Sports Resort, and because I know I'm just gonna sleep there, and honestly, they're all nice at Disney World. So it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I got a call from my travel agent about 2 weeks before. Yeah, it was exactly 2 weeks. It was during Austin's wedding, and she's like, "Hey, they overbooked the All Star Resort. They're upgrading you to the Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is like a deluxe resort, and it's got like." I'm not even joking. Live giraffes in the backyard of the resort that you just wake up and see in the mornings and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's a African themed deluxe resort, and there's zebras and giraffes and like wildebeest and whatnot.
I'm just picturing the the shutters are closed, like the shades are closed and everything. You wake up, go to the window, open it up, and there's just a giraffe staring in at you.
Yeah,
and then you just kind of slowly closing it again. Just kind of okay.
that is surprisingly not like that far off of what this resort is. I mean, they you literally wake up, there's a savannah in the background, so like it's pretty cool.
No, that's in Georgia.
Yeah, that's in Georgia. Yeah. And then that was pretty cool. We had that experience last week. We just got back Sunday, and the other reason I wasn't on the week before that was because I was in Austin's wedding, and I'm really good at like freestyling speeches. Like I've talked for a while. We've done probably 1,000 podcasts together, and normally when I give a wedding speech, because Austin, I was going to give a speech at Austin's reception, and normally when I give speeches, what I do is I'll make a rough outline in my head and I'll fill in the gaps, right? So like I had a couple points. I was gonna walk up and be like, get him loosened up with a joke, be like, oh, another fat guy on the mic, he better be funny, type of joke, and then I had like a ladder effect of points I wanted to hit, and this has never happened to me before, and I've given probably 5 wedding speeches at this point. I got up and my mind just completely went blank. And I'm like, oh my God. And
oh no.
I took a breath and I just started flying by the seat of my pants. And I thought it was a terrible speech. Everyone else said it was really good. Coach was there. He said I nailed it and whatnot, and everyone seemed to like it, but it was not my best work, I didn't think. But Austin's wedding was awesome, dude.
I'm so sad I got COVID. I am so sad. I was so excited for it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight. He's busted at work. But he had this gorgeous like venue with this horse racing farm from like the 1800s, and it was exactly what you would imagine like a southern mansion would look like. It had the giant arches and stuff. It was really cool. It was a really awesome place, and in his town, Athens, Georgia, is like a really fun city too. So we had a blast down there.
I need to get down there sometime.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't been playing too many games this week because of all the excitement. But what have you been up to? What games have you been playing?
I'm going to stick to just a few because after having COVID and then just working a lot, so I get home and don't really feel like doing much. I've been playing a ton, but really the 3 I want to talk about off the top of my head right now. One is just I've been playing Dark Souls 3 with one of my friends, and the trophies from that game are horrendous.
In what way?
Acquire all rings. Okay. So there are 107 rings in the game, and like 6 of them can only be acquired in New Game Plus and like 20 of them can only be acquired in New Game Plus. Okay, so you need to play the game 3 times for sure in order to get the platinum. And I enjoy these games enough, I want the platinum. And then acquire all expressions, which are the emotes. There are 33. Like 22 of them are missable.
Oh
Cool.
God.
Cool. One of them is tied to a quest line that if you don't do it almost immediately after getting the character, that character dies. So it locks you out. Okay, well, that sucks, but I can do that. Okay, another one is tied to doing 3 quests simultaneously doing certain things. Yeah, this is going to be like a 4 to 5 playthrough platinum for me.
So what you're saying is this is one of those games that requires like a very in-depth guide to get the trophy and to platinum in the shortest amount of time possible.
I literally have an Animal Crossing notebook right here that I'm going to write down each area of the game in order. And like, okay, while I'm here, I need to do this and do this. And then next area, do this and do this. And then maybe at the end of the area, make sure you do this before leaving this area. So and I'm going to need to make a comprehensive list like that. That list is just horrible.
I didn't play too much of Dark Souls 3. It didn't grab me like Elden Ring grabbed me. Did you ever beat Elden Ring?
Actually, I forgot. I also want to mention I platinumed Elden Ring.
Oh, did you? Wow, congratulations on that. I think I do remember you saying that in the chat. That's great.
That game is honestly one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't beat it. I got to like the very end. Well, not the very end, but I got to like probably the last quarter. I got to the fire giant, and I
okay, yeah, very close.
At one point I got there and we were doing something. We were going on a trip for the day or whatever, and I was like, I don't really feel like doing this right now. I'll get to it later. And I never got to it later. I put it off. But yeah, Elden Ring's great. But as far as Dark Souls 3 goes, I really wanted to try Dark Souls 3. I really wanted to get into the Souls games maybe like a year ago before Elden Ring came out. And I was playing Dark Souls 3 and I was enjoying it. I was kind of understanding it and getting it, but I didn't get too far. I got past the giant tree boss. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Great Rotted.
Yeah, and he apparently, I think I remember he's like an optional boss. You didn't have
yes,
to do
he is completely optional.
Yeah, and I didn't know that, and I was like struggling with him for like forever until I looked up a strategy, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is actually pretty easy once you figure out his like move set. And then I got to the next area, and I don't think I ever got further than that, but I didn't get too far in Dark Souls 3, but I enjoyed my time with it.
It's a good game, but especially after Elden Ring, it can be so hard to go back because so many of the things that make Elden Ring so wonderful don't exist because it is an evolution of the Soul series, and there are things that didn't exist beforehand, or if they did, just weren't as fleshed out.
After playing Elden Ring and getting into it, I really want to go back. I really want to play Bloodborne, but I'm waiting on what has to be, the inevitable Bloodborne remake, right? There's been rumors about it forever. And Colin keeps talking about it on the podcast like it's a confirmed thing. I know you don't listen to Sacred Symbols, but he keeps saying, and he does this, I think, because he doesn't have any like really ties to like the media and the industry anymore. He keeps saying things like, I can't remember the exact quotes, but
wasn't one of them something like you haven't heard the last of Bloodborne?
Yeah, he says stuff like that. Like he clearly knows something about it.
Oh yeah,
which is why, because dude, I hate booting on my PS4 anymore. I really don't. I'm over it. Did I say PS2? I said PS4.
You said 4. Yeah.
I'm over booting on my PS4, and Bloodborne just. It wasn't a launch game, but it was like pretty close to the launch of the PS4, so it's probably nearing 10 years old now. At some point.
2015.
Oh, was it 2015?
March 2015.
So about a year and a half after the PS4 came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm waiting on that hopeful re-release of Bloodborne on the PS5. I don't know what they're waiting on.
Neither do I. And
IP, right?
They do. They own the IP, and not only that. So when you look at how well PlayStation series I always hate saying the word series do, and you look at the expectation for Bloodborne was originally like 1 million copies sold,
Mm-hmm.
and it sold like upwards of like 8 or 9 million. That's a massive success. And especially Demon Soul, they brought back a remake of Demon Souls, meaning it's not like they think that genre is way too niche or anything. They understand that people want it. So what have they been waiting on?
Yeah,
They've
I don't know.
they've shown love to so many of these different homegrown play. Now, granted, it's not a homegrown PlayStation game; it's from software, but obviously, people love this game.
Yeah.
And I'm granted they have games like Until Dawn, but Until Dawn hasn't been given that kind of treatment. You don't see like newer PlayStation like banners in that has Until Dawn as like one of the key titles,
Mm-hmm.
but you still see Bloodborne on these marquees.
Yeah.
There is something there. I just want
My
to know what.
My assumption is that after Demon Souls, Bluepoint is currently working on Bloodborne. They have to be. I mean, I can't
I would think so.
I can't imagine any other scenario. But I saw you were reading the Bloodborne comic. How is that?
I really, really liked them. I read the first 3 volumes. I need to get the 4th volume, but that one apparently there was just, I don't know if there was a short print run or what, but the cheapest I found it is like $45 for the 4-issue trade.
Are you still collecting physical comic books?
I really only do trades now, and I'll only get them if it's something I'm like super interested in. Like I want to get the Dark Souls collection. I want to get that last Bloodborne one. I have the Apex Legends one on pre-order.
I as you know, I have like a giant comic book collection, and I'm thinking about just like taking them and just selling them in bulk. Maybe like piecing out some of the ones that I know are like really expensive, like first appearance of Spider Gwen, first appearance of Miles Morales, first appearance of the symbiote, but like selling the rest, and maybe even like donating to the library or something, man. Because I have like these giant long boxes at my dad's house, and I just don't know what to do with them because I don't read them. Half of them, well, not half of them, maybe I probably have 300 books that aren't bagged and boarded over there. And once I discovered digital comics, man, it was a game changer because I no longer like I don't think I've ever opened my long boxes with the intent of rereading a comic. You know, um, but I was gonna say, as far as like Bloodborne goes, I'd be interested to read that series because I always thought the world of Bloodborne was really cool. But my biggest gripe with From Software, and I know a lot of people love it, it's just a personal thing I don't like,
The
is
storytelling.
the ambiguous storytelling. I hate that, dude.
I totally get it.
I wanted to know so much about the Elden Ring world, and they just don't give it to you. You have to like hunt for it, and I would watch lore videos on like TikTok or YouTube, and I'd be like, how on earth did you guys even get this information? I'm like, I don't understand it whatsoever. But
I don't blame you one bit. Like that is even the biggest thing I have with the different FromSoft games as well. That's the big thing is like Bloodborne, it took me forever to really fully understand the story in it. And the nice thing about the comic, so there's 4 volumes. Each volume is a different story. So volume 1 is just the story of this one hunter. Volume 2 was the story of this basically it was science versus faith, and like with the healing church versus the old blood. And the third one is a story based on the one character Eileen the Crow. So like each one is a different story set in that world, and I think that's why I love those comics so much. It's this world I love with a story I can fully understand, and like I'll see stuff. So like you see some of the creatures in the first one, like one of the main creatures from the game, it's not a spoiler, amygdala is everywhere, but it even references the fact that, oh, someone can see it and another person can't, which playing the game, and the game doesn't tell you this, but that creature, you will not see it for the entire first half of the game unless you have 40 insight.
Oh wow, I didn't
the
know
game
that.
the game never tells you that. You only start seeing it after that, after you beat this one boss, and it basically like it makes itself appear.
That's so cool. There's so much weird, wacky stuff in FromSoft games. I watched a lore video on Bloodborne years ago, but doesn't like the expansions and whatnot get real wacky? Like, don't you go to the moon or something in Bloodborne?
No, one of the enemies, for lack of a better term, is from the moon.
Yeah,
It's
it's like real
it's
wacky.
one of the main enemies of the game.
I see. I see.
Um, it's called the Moon Presence. That's all I'll say. But
Okay.
yeah, it's literally. And what's wild is if we go based on history, we haven't played the best part of Elden Ring yet.
Yeah, so there's this giant theory that we're gonna get like a prequel or something to Elden Ring, or something that takes place in a different, like the moon dimension. I've been reading about this.
The DLC for 1, 2, 3, and Bloodborne is all considered better than the main game.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
So like if we go by history, it would mean the DLC for Elden Ring would be even better than the main game, which
See.
I don't know if that's possible because the main game is so good.
Yeah, the man, Elden Ring was just so good. You could tell that FromSoft took everything they learned from their previous games and kind of combined them together to make this really special game. And man, even as someone who like didn't really jump into any of the other Souls games, I loved Bloodborne, or not Bloodborne, Elden Ring. I mean, it had a little something for everyone, I think. And what I liked was I was not one that thought that the Souls games needed an easy mode. I think that argument is ridiculous. I think that they should be able to be, if they want to make hard games, they should be allowed to make hard games as long as they're able to withstand the criticism of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they saw that, okay, well, maybe we should do something here, and they added in like a really deep summon system. And I really enjoyed that because for me, it was really fun to like run into a boss fight and summon, these like old knights or whatever that I've
The
collected throughout
knights or
the
the
game.
wolves or the random
Yeah,
jellyfish.
yeah. Um, or even like I thought it added like a really nice deep customization system to gear your character out, summon the mimic tier, and then like change your gear to however you wanted to
Yep.
approach the situation. So I thought it was actually pretty cool. I know some people are like, "Oh, that's cheating. That's not how you're supposed to play the game." I'm like, I don't care.
No, the people
I
that
don't care
say
what you
that,
think.
if something is in the game, that's how you play the game. Like
Yeah,
it
exactly.
doesn't matter. Like if it is in the game, that's how you play the game.
Yeah. Did you
People
see
suck.
this? Did you see this theory that like I don't know if it's true or not, but a lot of people changed the way they held a controller to play the Souls games by putting their index finger on top of the controller so they could turn the camera and run at the same time, and that created like that's where the furled finger diagram, like the image, came from, because they would hold the controller with their front finger like curled. Have you seen this
Interesting.
theory? Yeah,
No.
and yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. But what else are you
And
playing this week? Sorry.
oh no, I just also want to say it's fantastic we're talking about Elden Ring since I'm wearing my Berserk shirt, and so much inspiration from that series, just the From games come from Berserk. Just
Berserk. Berserk is a one of a kind property. You don't see
I
anything else like Berserk.
100% agree. I finished Deluxe Volume 3, and it is just so good. I can't wait to get the next one.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
You do not see things that dark very
No,
often.
no,
And
not at all.
it's, for me, I didn't read the manga. I watched the 3 Netflix movies, and then I've always wanted to like continue the story, but I never got
Oh,
around to it. For me, it was like that is one of the greatest anime properties I've ever sat through and watched once, and I don't need to do it again because it's so dark and like twisted that you're just like, okay, that was great. I don't need to watch that ever again.
and like at the same time, like 6 years down the road, you're like, yeah, I don't forget it. I don't forget
Yeah,
any of it because it sticks with you.
yeah, yeah.
To give you an idea, the anime starts near the end of the first deluxe edition.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I want to say the anime goes until roughly, because I want to say it's volume 3, like not deluxe volume 3, but of the actual 41 volume run. I
Hmm.
want to say the anime goes from like volume 3 to like 14,
Okay.
something like that. So that's not even half of the entire story. That
Right. Right.
that's why I was looking up. I'm like, it seems like this anime is short, but then I found out, yeah, it was just a short story of it.
Yeah. So what I've heard though is that there's like a really kind of not great CGI based anime that takes place after the 3 Netflix movies, and it's not good, I guess. So I've kind of just
I
relegated myself to I'm gonna read the manga at some point.
Yeah,
So
and
unfortunately, though, it sucks the manga ended early.
no, I agree. I will say though, I think the deluxe editions of the manga are the best way to read it. And the main reason being the art is beautiful. And the deluxe editions are a bigger thing.
Right.
So you open up and that art is just big and beautiful. And I'm so glad I didn't go with just the single volumes.
Yeah, it was really cool that they had so much in Elden Ring that was obviously inspired by
Oh
Berserk.
yeah.
That's really cool. But what else have you been
Uh,
playing?
I've also been playing Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt. It is the free to play battle royale. And the biggest thing I can say about this game is I'm not going to say it's that great, but also it sets itself apart enough and it does enough to be fun to where I can't stop playing it. I, I got the battle pass. I'm like level 36 right now.
Oh my
I
god,
go for the dailies. I'm going for the platinum. It's actually not a bad platinum. It's just kind of play the game a while and you'll get it.
you went deep, huh?
I did. Uh, it is fun. I enjoy it, and I really don't know what more there is to say because, like I said, it's not exactly a great game. It's from the company that made it, Shark Mob. This is their first game, and it's basically made up of a whole bunch of Division 2 devs,
Oh
which
wow.
uh, you will you can feed on people on the street who will have either sanguine, caloric. I can't remember the other two kinds. Like one, you can do 3 levels of each one, so it'll be increase melee damage 10%, 25%, 50%. Recover 1 HP every second, 2 HP every second, 4 HP every second. Different stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a battle royale, but it keeps my interest so much more than I ever thought it would.
Have you ever played that Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale that came out?
No, I need to. Actually, I I think I have it on my phone.
I just, to me, I saw that and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good on that one actually.
I've heard it's not bad, but it's like also you don't need to play it.
Yeah, Square Enix is so weird, man, because they have so many like really good properties and like so many really great games, and then they do things like that that don't make any sense. Like I don't think anyone was asking for a Final Fantasy VII Soldier Battle Royale.
Absolutely not.
You know, it's so weird. But then they also put like a lot of effort into that game that's coming out, that mobile gotcha game, that Final Fantasy VII
Oh
Ever
yeah,
Crisis or something like that,
something like
and
that. Yeah,
it looks really cool. I'm like, why didn't you put this on consoles?
yeah. It is apparently
Essentially,
like the entire story, like the entire
right?
Final Fantasy VII story, every game, including Crisis Core and what was it before Crisis? That
Yeah.
phone game that never came out over here.
Yes, and it looks really great. And they're just like, we're gonna lock this away on mobile device. And I understand in Japan and Asia in general, like phone gaming is like way bigger than here in the States. But I just don't understand why you would go through all of that to make this wonderful little game that's coming out, and they're like, just lock it away on mobile.
Half of me says, "Oh, I hope they give it the Final Fantasy 15 mobile treatment where they do release on consoles." But then the other half of me looks at the pixel remasters and is like, "Oh yeah, never mind. They probably won't."
Speaking speaking of Final Fantasy 15, I forgot to bring this up. I actually beat Final Fantasy 15 again last week, I think. So me and you had that conversation about Square Enix like a month ago, and we were talking about Final Fantasy 15,
Oh
and
yeah.
it motivated me because Final Fantasy 15 is one of the only games I've ever platinumed. Um, like legitimate platinum. It was like Final Fantasy 15 and Spider-Man. I think I think I
Both
have
great games.
I think I have like some of the other Telltale platinums, but they're like stupid easy
They,
to
they were
get.
so they were so easy, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really count them. But Final Fantasy 15 and Spider-Man are the only two games I've ever actually platinumed. And I went back because when I platinumed Final Fantasy 15, it was because when you I wanted to replay it and do all the new game plus stuff that they added in later on. But when you do a new game plus, it wipes out all your progress towards the platinum, like all your completed quests,
Oh,
all your exploration and whatnot. So in order to do that, I had to finish the platinum first. And by the time I got done with the platinum, I was so burnt out on 15 that I never went back. But I hit up Pedro and I was like, "Hey man, do you want to do like a really in-depth, deep?" Because Pedro's played Final Fantasy 15 probably more than anybody I've ever met. He was absolutely in love with that game. And I was like, "Do you want to do like a really in-depth breakdown, like review of Final Fantasy 15?" He was in. He was all in. So I did the new game plus. I experienced the new campaign stuff. I did the Arden DLC, which was like surprisingly really fun. And I just have to do the Gladiolus and Prompto DLC, which I heard are not great, but
I enjoyed the
playing
Prompto.
playing them in the game, because I beat the game before I was ever able to switch characters and whatnot. I was like really impressed. I was like, wow, this is actually really fun and really deep. And playing as Arden in that like DLC chapter they released was really fun as well. It makes me really sad and kind of upset that they canceled the Noctis and Aranea and
Lunafreya.
Lunafreya DLCs.
Yeah,
Because
me too.
I think they were taking really good steps forward with the Arden stuff, and it's to work on Forspoken, which is getting clowned on constantly on the internet. So
Yeah,
that team Luminous, I think their name is, they can't
yeah,
catch a break.
Luminous. No.
They cannot catch a break.
But also, speaking of Square Enix, the last game I want to talk about that I've been playing, I'm right near the end of Parasite Eve. I've been wanting to play this for so many years. And I picked up Parasite Eve 1 and 2 a couple months ago, and I've had Third Birthday forever. And yeah, I finally started it, and I freaking love this game. It's so good. Everything from, I really love the combat, how it's almost got the active time battle gauge while free movement, and I think it really was one of the first of that kind of action RPG genre, at least that I'm aware of. And just the whole story with it made me want to go back. I want to read the book now really bad, which I almost read the book beforehand, but I knew it was going to be super technical and in depth, and I was going to have like a dictionary next to me to read it. But now I want to read it more than I ever did before. But just the way it all plays, the characters, I'm loving this game, and I cannot wait to start the second one. I'm right near the end of the first one.
What are you playing it on?
My PS3. I actually,
Okay.
to give you an idea, I'm playing the PS1 discs on my PS3.
Okay.
And oh my god, yes.
Yeah, I watched my buddy Watson play Parasite Eve a few years ago, and it looked really fun. If you like Parasite Eve, I think you would really like another game from the same era called Vagrant Story.
Okay, yep. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, so Vagrant Story takes place in Ivalice in the
Oh.
Final Fantasy world. Yeah, so I think you would like that. It's got a sort of a similar vibe to Parasite Eve. Just make sure that you play it on something you can suspend easily and resume, because the save points. I reviewed it on my old YouTube channel, and that was my biggest criticism. The save points are sometimes
few and far between,
hours apart, like many hours.
I'm really, really hoping that there's a possibility we could get that on the new PS Plus, because I don't know if you saw the newest thing today. First off, they shared the like classic games that are coming to it, and they shared like 30 of the like 200 classic games coming. So there's way more that we don't know about, but also the newest one is on the, what is it, like Hong Kong version of PSN where that's currently up, there's a picture of the main character from Dino Crisis,
Oh,
and
I did see you talking about that.
Dino Crisis isn't on the Classics collection, so I'm thinking there's a chance that comes. And Square Enix usually plays ball, especially if it's a game that they're not going to touch.
Right.
So I think I'm not going to get my hopes up. I would say I think there's a chance we could possibly get that, because
So
Square Enix, who were they to throw away money for something they don't need to touch?
you weren't here when me and George talked about it. What's your gut check on like Square Enix selling off their Western properties?
I think, first off, I think it's hysterical that they sold it off for 300 million, because one of the big things I heard was Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers lost them 200 million. It's like, cool, paying for the Marvel property and everything totally costs money. So, probably if they would have made games they wanted to make that they didn't need to pay to license out, that probably would have been a big help. Also, Avengers being, normally I would say maybe Crystal Dynamics wanted to make Avengers a live service game. But then we look at Square, we sold them off to invest more in microtransaction and blockchain and everything. I'm like, maybe Square Enix did have a hand in what Avengers was.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that wasn't their fault to begin with. But also, there are a lot of properties that they just sat on. And now I'm hoping that they kind of do more with some of their older properties that they haven't touched, e.g. Parasite Eve or anything like that. And I'm hoping maybe we see some more of that to fill out more of their catalog.
It's pretty clear to me that Square Enix was trying to average out their bottom line a little bit by selling off those properties and bringing in a few $100 million, because they took 3 big hits with Avengers and then Guardians of the Galaxy, and Babylon's Fall is a massive failure, like a historically massive failure, which reached I don't know if you saw a Steam concurrent player count of one recently, and that is like, for a AAA game that came out this year, like unheard of. So,
one of my favorite headlines of any article I've ever read is Square Enix is still updating Babylon's Fall for the one person playing it.
yeah. It's a shame, because I actually thought Guardians of the Galaxy was fantastic. Like, that
Oh,
game
it's so
was
good.
really, really good, but it suffered from Avengers coming out right before it, and everyone thinking that it was going to be more of the same. And also, I think I specifically remember them having a terrible, terrible Guardians of the Galaxy like showcase at E3, which was like a 45-minute gameplay demo.
It was so yeah, it was 20 minutes of a 45-minute conference. So like 20 minutes in, right before it ended, everyone's like, so are we going to see other things?
Yeah.
What? And it's not even just you. General consensus is that game did not show off well.
Yeah. I remember watching that and being like, hey, this could have been a 2-minute demo and I probably would have been in, but now I'm over it.
They showed like the entire first level of that game.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, this sucks. But I actually did buy it and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I don't know. What is your gut check on the rumors of Final Fantasy 16 being shown off and maybe even released this year?
I think it will definitely be shown off. Naoki Yoshida, aka Yoshi P, is the head of this game. He's the person who helped turn around Final Fantasy 14. There's a reason people say in Yoshi P we trust, because he knows what he wants to do and he gets it done, and he cares about getting it right. So I think it will be shown off this year, like hands down. But I have a feeling it's going to be a spring release.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. I could see it coming out in the fall. I could see them revealing it again and releasing it a few months later. That'd be cool. I love it when companies do that. Square is not known for that. They're known to like advertise things until you don't even need to play them anymore, because
you've seen the entire game.
Yeah. So I think because now they're saying that there's not going to be a large PlayStation showcase anytime this summer. That's probably going to come later in the fall. I could see it being at the PlayStation Showcase since it is an exclusive. So I don't know. That's probably going to be the game that I eventually break and buy a PS5 for, because I'm waiting for a reason to buy a PS5 right now, honestly, because I really don't have one.
I think one of the big things for me with it is I I can't look at it and get excited just because, like you said, we know Square is likes to draw out. So like I'll get excited once we're a month out of the game's release. Because like at that point, that game is probably not getting delayed. Let's go.
Yeah, Square is also really good at creating fake gameplay demos, and they do this all the time. They've done it for years. I don't know if you remember that some of those really old Final Fantasy 15 or versus 13 at that point in time. They were really old like trailers, but they were
Hmm.
like in quotes gameplay demos.
Yeah.
But looking back at them, you can clearly see that they are not gameplay demos whatsoever. They're pre-rendered trailers with like a user interface plastered on top of them, which is like absurd. But Square Enix has been doing this for years, and I think that's probably what they did with Final Fantasy 16 as well. But instead of doing that, they made like real quick Unreal Engine slices, which is not hard to do. And that's what I did, like a trailer breakdown when that game was first revealed um, on our YouTube channel, and it did pretty well. But that's what I was saying was like, I think this is the only part of this game that exists. But hopefully it
Yeah.
comes out good, because this is the first Final Fantasy game. I'm almost positive the first Final Fantasy game where the main character is a red mage. I'm really excited about that.
We're completely disregarding the biggest thing about Square Enix selling off their Western properties.
What's that?
It's that the company that bought them, and they have since come out and said so, is very well known for doing remasters and remakes of old favorite games. Give us Gex and Legacy of Kain.
Legacy of Kain would be a really good one.
I don't even need a remake of Gex. Just give me like remaster or port that has like, hey, here's a Gex trilogy. I'm like, heck yeah. And I've never played the Legacy of Kain, so I want to. So like,
Yeah, I really want
I
to play
mean,
Legacy of Kains as well, but they're so old at this point. They're so dated that it's hard to go back and play them.
exactly. So it's like if they give us a new one, and it's not like nobody wants them. And so to give a giant change, Square or Tomb Raider, the trilogy sold 38 million, and Square Enix considered that a failure.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
The new Evil Dead game that came out sold 500,000 in its first week, and that was considered a raging success. Some of these like Japanese games, like years later, like, hey, we finally sold 1 million copies, and that's considered a success. Yet the first Tomb Raider sold 7 million. They're like, that was no, should have done better. That was a failure. Like, what? What? Why?
Yeah, I don't know what they were expecting for that to sell. Like what was your goal? Was it 10 million, 15? You know, like God, the first Tomb Raider I think is really good, and the
It's
second
so
one is
good.
fantastic. The third one not that great, but the first two are fantastic.
I think the third one is really good, but it definitely has problems.
Yeah,
I think the gameplay is good. I think there are problematic points in the story, I should say.
yeah, it's weird how they wanted the main character just to be a villain.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
really understand that. I was like, okay,
And like part of me understood it because it's like, oh, she's learning that like what she like things she does has consequences in ways that she never experienced before. But also it's just like every time it's like, oh, I need to make this right. Chekhov makes another wrong choice. Like, okay, well,
didn't didn't they officially announce a fourth one?
yes. Um they announced it is going to be in Unreal Engine 5. And so I guess that's now going to be an Embracer Group game.
Yeah, I wonder how this sale is going to impact the development of that.
My guess is it's not because, and the main reason being, these sales don't just overnight, hey, I want you guys to know you've been sold. So, like, you have like 24 hours to move.
Mm-hmm.
They've known for a while. So it's probably just like, all right, so there's a transition coming and we'll do what we can, and then once it's done, then we'll focus on other parts of it. That's my guess. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know either. Hopefully, Embracer Group takes care of those things and those properties and does well with them. But
they got
Embracer,
good studios.
they do, but they haven't done a whole lot with those studios. You know, like
No, they haven't.
for how much they haven't done much, and it's making me wonder, like, what are they up to? You
And
know,
especially with what was it I read? Embracer Group has 107 studios, something like that.
yeah, it's really weird. They
Um,
just keep buying things.
they have Amplifier Game Invest, which has like 20 studios. Oh, they own Asmodee? Holy crap! So Asmodee Digital does like literally all of the digital board games. They own the digital board game front.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like anytime you see a digital board game, guarantee it was made by Asmodee. They have Coffee Stain Holding, Dark Horse, Deca Games, Easy Brain, Gearbox now, Coke Media, and Coke Media has a ton under their belt. They have Saber Interactive, which has like 20 under their belt. THQ Nordic, who has like 20 under their belt. Now add these three more. These are good studios, but we just haven't seen.
Speaking of Saber Interactive, did you see the news that they jumped on the Knights of the Old Republic remake?
Yes. That
It's
has me
really
more interested.
Yeah, because the studio that was, I don't even remember the studio that was making the Knights of the Old Republic remake. They were like a no-name studio. But Saber Interactive,
Aspire.
yeah, Aspire. Saber Interactive could come in and really help them, and I'm really excited about that because that is a property that needs desperately taken care of by someone that like is gonna really take care of it. Have you ever
So
played Knights of the Republic?
way back in the day. Like it's been a long time, and I was super excited to try it again. But then I'm like, I feel like that game might get the remake treatment, and then the remake got announced. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait at this point.
Well, it's also really dated because it doesn't have controller support in any capacity at all, which is weird because it came out on Xbox. But if like,
I was gonna say I would probably play it on Xbox. So
I was gonna say because if you play it on PC, you cannot play. You plug a controller into it; it doesn't work.
yeah,
It's
that's
really
so weird. And it, I'm gonna guess there's probably not that many. I don't know though, like mods for it that would.
So I looked into it because I mean I love modding my games, and there's not really a mod that adds controller support that I could find. You can like manually add controller support to any game by
Mhm.
mapping stuff, but it doesn't usually work too great. And Knights of the Republic was at its base meant to be like a point and click adventure,
Yeah.
like old school RPG, not point and click, but kind of. And it just doesn't work well with the controller. Like even if you play it on Xbox, like it's still kind of it
Oh
it,
yeah.
it has showed its age, I should say.
Absolutely.
But
The reason I say that is so I started Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines a few months ago, and actually I need to get back to that. But there's actually a mod that it's an unofficial mod that the makers of the game say, yeah, you want to download this mod to go along with it. So it's an officially unofficial mod. I don't know the best way to put it, but and it literally. So I played it without the mod at first because I can do the Steam Workshop stuff where it's just you download it, boom, it works.
right.
But this was the first time I ever did the all right, download it, put it in a specific folder, name it the specific thing. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing as I'm just using my keyboard. And then I played it with that mod installed. It was like a brand new game. And that's why I wasn't sure if maybe there was something like that for Knights of the Old Republic, but
not that I found. All right, Elijah,
yes.
did you see the news about TCL seemingly confirming that the upgraded versions of the PS5 and the Xbox are coming out in 2023?
I did not.
Yes. So TCL, of course, is the famous TV company. That's where I've bought my last 4 TVs from. I like them. They generally make like really cheap smart TVs that I think are pretty good quality. And they had a conference saying that they are expecting the like PS5 Pro and the next Xbox Series console to come out in 2023, and I wanted to know what you thought about this.
I find it very interesting because I feel like that's very fast for two reasons. First off, these consoles just came out. It's only been 2 years. It's not like they're even that like underpowered compared to, if you compare 2 years into the PS4 and Xbox One life cycle to 2 years in the PS4 and or PS5 and Xbox Series X life cycle, and compare those to PC, like the better PC stuff at the time, they're still much more powerful compared to where the PS4 and Xbox One were at.
So I just looked it up. The PS4 Pro came out on November 10th, 2016. So about 3 years after the PS5 or the PS4 came out.
Okay.
So
Actually, November 12th, that was almost exactly 3 years.
yeah.
It was November 15th.
So the PS5 came out in 2020, correct? Or was it 2021? No, it was 2020.
2020.
So
Wait.
2023.
Yeah,
That would be
okay. That would be right in line. Okay, yeah. But
the thing I think is weird about it is it feels like this generation isn't even getting ramped up yet, and that these consoles aren't even really putting out games that are taking full advantage of their hardware. It doesn't seem like many games are coming out that are going to take full advantage of the PS5 and the Xbox Series.
yeah, like
Which is weird.
I'm perfectly okay with my PS5 not upgrading to another one because like the biggest thing for me is all the games I get, even older ones, are going to run better on this. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
But like the other big thing that gets to me is I feel like they're still just not getting into people's hands as fast as people want them to. So like it seems really weird. But all right, we're gonna upgrade them. It's like okay, but people don't even have the ones they want yet.
Yeah.
Like what?
I've yet to see a PS5 in stores or an Xbox. It hasn't happened.
Yeah. Actually, neither have I. Neither have I.
It's weird. And I'm wondering, like, are we ever gonna see them in stores at this point? Because I keep hearing people saying they're not hard to get. And granted, I haven't tried because I haven't really wanted one, but it doesn't seem like I've checked a couple times at on Walmart.com or like Best Buy and whatnot, and they're always out of stock. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, same. And I know they come on to what is it, like PlayStation Direct website or whatever all the time, and they sell out right away.
Yeah, I actually I don't think I know people are saying that like it's scalpers. I don't really think it is at this point anymore. It doesn't seem like people are buying these consoles secondhand on eBay and whatnot. I think it's more or less just there's not many of them being made.
And people are buying. People that want them are buying them, and they're gone.
Yeah, I know you and George and Austin all had a pretty interesting conversation about this current gen. What are your thoughts on the PS5 currently?
So like, I love my PS5, but the biggest thing I'll say is these are a luxury item. Nobody needs one. I mean, not even just the fact that there aren't that many like next gen exclusive games yet. We're starting to see some more, but at the moment there aren't. But the biggest thing is just this is a luxury item. I would say what it comes down to is what do you play the most? If you play PC the most, I would say no, you don't need a PS5. If you play PS4 the most, like I play my PS4 almost every day, then the PS5 is, I would say, get one, because then everything you play is just going to run better, run smoother, load quicker. And Austin and I have talked about before, and I remember even him saying, hey, I was wrong about this. When it comes to load times and the big difference with them, it can make a big difference. But it all comes down to where do you play and how much do you play. So Yeah, nobody needs one of these consoles.
Yeah, it's weird to me because I played last gen almost entirely exclusively on my PS4 and PS4 Pro, and I switched to PC. I always had a PC, but I didn't really play too much on it. I switched to PC in 2020, I think maybe 2019, and I just never looked back. And it's weird because I think PlayStation might be falling into this classic like Nintendo spot where it's like, all right, well, you can buy a PlayStation for exclusives, and that's good enough because PlayStation's exclusives are so good. But I also feel like people that bought the PS5, I can understand why they would feel burned because I you drop $600 on this console or more, and it's like, all right, well, I want games that are built exclusively for it to take full advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see why people are starting to have a little bit of an uproar about, hey, where are the games for this thing?
And
Because I don't think PS4 games count.
and even so, or I should say, even more so with games like, for example, Elden Ring. The recommended way to play that game the best on a PlayStation console is to play the PS4 version on a PS5,
Mm-hmm.
because then it'll
I
run at
saw that.
60 frames per second. Now,
I saw
granted,
that.
there are I do think, not for all of them, but for some games, the uh DualSense triggers
Mm-hmm.
are really good and really add to it, like much more than I ever would have expected. But I do think that's a low number of games right now that I feel that with. And sure, some games have better lighting and ray tracing, and I'm not looking at, man, I can see okay, what was it? Fatal Frame, the PS5 version had like better lighting and everything. At no point was I looking at the water going, man, look at those reflections. I was looking around going, where them ghosts? Where them ghosts? That's what I
Right.
was looking for. I wasn't looking around and be like, whoa, that looks pretty. No. So like, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing that's come out. I want to say like three, I want to say two PlayStation home studio games that are exclusive. But other than that, there are just not many next gen only games.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say even beyond that, very few where like the upgraded version is that much of a difference. The One of the big things that always comes to mind for me is comparing the PS3 and PS4 versions of Middle Earth Shadows of Mordor.
Mm-hmm.
And the PS3 version of that game was basically unplayable next to the PS4 version. There was that major of a difference. It didn't even have the Nemesis system. Like, it didn't. The thing that game was touted for wasn't even in the last gen version of
It
it.
had like a fake version of the Nemesis system.
Yeah,
The,
it
the orcs and whatnot were there, but they didn't like grow and evolve
no.
like the Nemesis system did.
Yeah. So like, we haven't seen anything like that where like, man, this PS4 one is okay, but you pop it in, the PS5 one is fantastic. No, we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
And it all goes towards what is the upgrade that these systems give. The upgrade between PS3 and PS4, or 360 and Xbox One, was so major in these areas that you could see that huge difference. The difference between the last gen, the PS4, Xbox One, and this new one is, hey, that open world game that had 3 buildings you could go in? Yeah, now you can go in 50.
Mm-hmm.
It's not stuff that on the surface is entirely noticeable. It's those little things that are like, oh, you know what? Now you mention it, this does have more of stuff like that, but it's not anything surface level that you see the big difference like last time.
I think you're gonna see a lot of upgrades in the next 2 to 3 years that really change the way games are not only being developed but the way they look because so many companies are now switching to Unreal Engine 5.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big selling points for these new consoles was ray tracing 4K, 60 frames per second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, these consoles required so much power for ray tracing based on an old way that we were using ray tracing, a lot of processing power, a lot of, literally tracing the way the light reflects. But in Unreal Engine 5, they have a proprietary lighting system that does almost the exact same thing with minimal resource requirements required. And that's the big thing with Unreal Engine 5 is that you can make games gorgeous for a low cost of resources.
Yeah.
And algorithmically, when you look at something in the distance, and we've done this forever, but it's just not efficient. And when you look at something in the distance in Unreal Engine 5, it's a low polygon count. But the closer you get, algorithmically, it adds more polygons to it. So the things in the distance aren't going to take up resources. And it's sort of the same way for the light. The lighting is done in the development of the game. It's not done in real time when you're playing the game. And that is something I think is going to be really interesting because ray tracing is kind of going to fall to the wayside, except for like on PC, which is always, the frontier for like high end, the top tier graphics. But I don't know if you saw this. I think it's crazy. Nvidia could be releasing their 40 series this year,
Yes.
as early as in like a couple months. I feel like the 30 series just came out.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm like,
And I don't know. I don't know if that's because they're hard to get or what. But yeah, it feels like they just came out.
Well, GPU prices should be coming back down any second now because Bitcoin miners. First off, Bitcoin mining is not getting as popular anymore.
Yeah.
And also, it's not so much GPU powered anymore for Bitcoin mining, so that's really nice.
Yeah, I find that so strange. It's so fast.
Yeah. But all right, I think we've wrapped up about as much as we need to wrap up this week. Elijah, you got anything else you want to talk about?
I just want to add, if you are listening to this right when it comes out or the weekend it comes out, on Sunday, May 29th, I am doing an all-day 12-hour charity stream for NAMI, which is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And yeah, just stop on by.
Nice. That's a pretty cool thing. To the 29th, right?
Correct.
29th, NAMI, twitch.tv/locallizardman.
Correct.
All right, there we go. Check Elijah's stream out. It's for a good cause. And if you've listened all this way, I'm assuming you're a big fan. Please give us a like and subscription on YouTube or a review on the podcatcher of your choice. Our last two podcasts blew up on YouTube for unknown reasons. So maybe we just hit the algorithm. I don't know. It seems pretty weird that all our other shows had a low view count and the last two shows got like 100 times that. So I'm not really sure what happened there. But
gotta love math.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter. Actually, I don't think we really use the FrameSkip Twitter account anymore. You can follow Elijah at what's your
at
Twitter handle?
Local Lizard Man.
Okay, I wasn't sure if for some reason I thought it wasn't Local Lizard Man anymore.
Also, if anybody has any questions for the podcast, feel free to just tweet them at me and let me know it is, and I will make sure.
Yeah, tweet at me. You can tweet at Elijah or me. As far as for questions go, don't follow me on Twitter. First off, you probably don't want to, and second, I barely use Twitter. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.